Welcome back to another Cosmic Review or Breakdown, whichever one it is. Let's jump straight into with episode 3. So the Rangers are on Eridus, which is millions and millions of light years away from Earth, which again is a nice holiday destination, but not what they want right now. They have no way of getting back. The base basically teleported them and that system is fried. Harvey is basically playing guitar or trying to, and it's not working whatsoever. And we overhear Billy say that he lost his powers with the Triceratops, but then gained the power of the wolf, and he was the Wolf Ranger, which again is a nice thing because you're throwing back to old Power Rangers, which is what we wanted all this time. Because hey, I generally like hearing about that sort of stuff. Why can't we hear about more of it? Bring back this. This is what Power Rangers needs, and I'm all here for it. Billy goes over to the Morphing Master staff and notices a few things, so he's going to be able to try and work on something to be able to give them their powers back, which again is something that you would really want to work on quite quickly. Now they start talking about the communications. Can they contact Earth? But they're saying like, no, you can't. The comms are completely down. But then they remembered the antenna that they used to kind of get information from RAFCON when that was around. And they all go like, yeah, that's actually a really good idea. Let's put the antenna outside to kind of get that to work. And they start to kind of work on that plan. Again, actually a really nice one, throwing back to, I think, season 1, which I generally like. I like throwbacks where they're going like, that device that we had, that's the one that we need. That will work perfectly. Now, I think the one thing that really irritates me in all of this is Ion's attitude towards Zato. It feels like Ion wants to go out, like he doesn't care. Like he wants to run a marathon even though he can't even walk or something like that. It generally irritates me that it's more like, you know, fuck everyone else. Like Zato is the most important. We need to get to Zato. Zato. It irritates me. It really does. You know, effectively, you can have Amelia and Billy say, we got this device that will literally teleport, but we don't know where. And Iron would hit that teleport button and be like, oh, we're in a wall. And it's like, oh shit, sorry, I didn't realize. Like, I just need Zato. I get it. I really do. But I generally think it doesn't help in that situation when you know everything is down. You don't have your powers. You don't have teleportation. You have nothing. So rather than go like, oh, I need Zato back now. Like, we have to get Zato. Work with the others and go, right, let's get the comms back up. Let's do stuff right now rather than just focus on this one thing, which again, like, what about Ollie? Like, he doesn't go on about Ollie that much. It's like Amelia could be like, well, fuck Zato. I want to get my boyfriend back. What the actual fuck? So Ion is just really, he annoys the shit out of me in this until they find him later on. But dear God, like, I understand it. Don't get me wrong. I just think it was executed in the wrong way. And it makes Ion just look really fucking annoying. Izzy and Fern are clearing out a room for Billy because obviously he has nowhere to sleep. So they're getting rid of all plans. Now, for me personally, if I was on the set, I would have put tons of Easter eggs in this. I haven't been able to see anything just yet, but Izzy and Fern find plans for the base to be turned into a spaceship. Convenient, that, isn't it? Plot. It's driving forward. It's the plot. So yeah, I kind of think that this was a nice thing. One thing that I'm going to be making another video on, and I know I go on about this quite a lot, and we know the reason. Simon's talked about how Hasbro doesn't want couples to kiss in Power Rangers. I have no idea why. I still think Hasbro goes around to every single house making sure that families don't show emotion towards each other. But I think the one thing that irritates me is the fact is that you see Izzy and Fern lean into what is going to be a kiss, and then something else goes off in the background. Now, if you're not allowed to show kissing either form with any couple, don't put it in. Don't lead up to it, because what's the point? People who want to see this kind of emotion to kind of go, okay, this is how people would be to kind of, you know, show comfort and show affection. Why are you kind of not showing it? Why are you putting it in to tease the audience? It just really irritates me. So I don't know why they put it in. It doesn't need to be in because, again, if you're not going to have them do it, why even lead up to it to kind of tease it? It's baiting the audience, and I'm not okay with that. The biggest one is when we saw Nate and Zoe, and then they were like, nope, not allowed. Or even like Kelvin and Haley, I think it is, like they're not allowed to do it. It's just so irritating to me. Because they get interrupted, Ion is cooking. He can't make any food because Amelia said, hey, why don't you go and cook and, you know, give everyone food, because that would be a big thing. But there's no food on the ship. It feels like you think you'd have at least a stocked kitchen because the Rangers are going to be there, or at least something around. But because Iron can't make any food whatsoever, he decides that, you know, he's going to storm around and be like, oh, I hate it. I can't make food because I want to find Zato. I didn't get my way. It really irritates me. I don't know why. It just really irritates me. It's just, I think Iron could have been written so much better in the storyline rather than going on about Zato all the time. This is something that kind of brings down the tone of Cosmic Fury a lot, and there's not many of these things around. But it's the fact that Fern gets kind of put down quite a lot. So she turns around and says, I want to help. And it's mostly Izzy going, no, I don't want you to come help. Like, we want to keep you safe. Like, we want to keep you on the ship. But yeah, if something like happened to the ship, it's like, oh, you got to stick by me. It doesn't, but it just irritates me. And I feel like no one else does this bar Izzy. And I get that she wants to protect her girlfriend, and that's absolutely fine. But I also kind of feel like, why would you like say like, oh, you can only stay here? It doesn't work. You think that more people would be able to help, and yet if something goes wrong, she could hide behind you, she could help you fight, she could do something rather than just be like, oh, I'm going to be on the ship. And it's one thing that I really wish Fern had more kind of, she would be able to do a lot more than what she normally does up to a certain episode. I feel like she's there as a background character, and it's kind of really frustrating on that sort of way. I'm just not a big fan of it. Now, I think this is one of the best lines in all of Power Rangers that I've heard forever, and I think it's one of my favorite. So in the scene, we get that Billy is using one of the rear soldier keys to kind of find out if there's any residual energy so he can go off and make a device to give the Power Rangers their Ranger powers back. And it kind of glows and stuff, and Fern wants to know what's going on. She asks Billy what's going on, and Billy responds with like, you know, there's residual energy in the keys that reacts with the staff, so maybe we can use the powers to make something. And she's like, oh, what is it? And then Billy comes up with something with the staff. He mentions also that it's got a connection to the biogrid, which I thought was very, very interesting to kind of say. When she turns around and says, what are the morphing masters? Billy gives this kind of long-winded excuse, but Solaron just turns around and goes, they're space wizards with magical staffs. And I absolutely love that line. I don't know what it is. I just felt it was really cool. Rather than dumbing it down and being like, oh, they're beings that give the Rangers their powers, make it humorous. And they did. And it's one of the best lines. I generally really thought that this was fantastic. And again, I think it's one of my all-time favorite lines in this series. So the Rangers are outside. Ion is not helping because he's finding food. And he gives this really... he looks really fucking smug in this, and it just irritates me a little bit because the others are like, we need your help, and he's like, I'm finding food, I'm doing that. Like, I could understand if the Rangers knew like, oh, okay, he is just finding food, we're gonna get this on. But it just feels like he's like, I'm getting food, I'm getting this. Then they meet a scuttleworm because Iron walks up to this egg that hatches, and I feel like they were meant to do some sort of alien reference and stuff like that, which would have been cool to kind of seeing that. But this worm jumps out, and at first I generally went, oh god, because I thought they were going to try and make like a plushie of this and make this like a cute thing, that maybe they have a scuttle worm that, you know, goes around and it's dead cute and becomes a pet for the series or whatnot. Nah, the scuttle worm just attacks the Rangers, it eats all the food, still a scuttle worm and stuff like that, but it's generally a monster. The Rangers fight and stuff like that, and then they kind of teleport out back to the base after defeating this monster. But I will say that in this fight, Harvey backhands this monster, and because he's now got a robotic arm, it's actually, he's got kind of super strength and stuff like that, which I think is kind of really cool. But yeah, they kind of do the stuff, they repair and set up the antenna, then they teleport back to the base where they're able to kind of get in contact with Buzz Blast, and they're watching the kind of information that comes through from Jane and J-Borg saying that, you know, there's a field around the Earth that makes the Rangers stop being able to use their Megazords and stuff like that, and the Rangers are fighting, they're doing everything, and I kind of like it. And when they're running away from this invasion, Jane has to go at the cameraman, and it's just like, stop, don't drop the camera or whatever. And I was like, okay, is that funny? I don't know. It's just an interesting line, but I like the fact that they're talking about Rangers and stuff. Another cool thing is they switch to Grid Battle Force and Commander Shaw is there. She's saying that, you know, they're doing everything. There's an anti-Zord field that isn't that's stopping certain things. The Rangers are overwhelmed, but they're doing as much as they can. And I think that I would have liked to have seen, like, maybe they got people in other suits, that you saw Beast Morphers, because Grid Battle Force, that you saw maybe RPM, maybe you saw Lost Galaxy. You know, you have all these suits. Why not use them and make this even more epic and show that there's something epic going on? But I generally like the fact that General Shaw was in this, even though it's a brief cameo. It's nice that they're continuing this and not just kind of ignoring it. I will say this, like, I do think that Grid Battle Force is now the main defender. It's like the big company that we had. We've seen like big organizations in Power Rangers before, so I think now Grid Battle Force is the go-to place. But I will say this, for no lag and no problems of that data stream, so they're able to watch, dear God, the streaming from Earth and what, 35 million light years away, that's really something. Raccoonian tech is the best. Dear God, why don't we have that right now? Can you imagine if Voyager met some Rafconians on their adventures? Damn, they'd be home quicker than normal. If only that was the crossover. We then get kind of an interesting scene with Ollie pretending to be good. He goes to his mum and says, like, you know, can you help me track down my friends, because, you know, I've been hurt, we've been separated. And she's willing to help him, and you know that they're gonna help. You know, and it's interesting, she goes like, oh yeah, I got this message from Mick, you know, just watch and listen. And Mick goes off saying, like, you know, I found Zato, he's on there on Lebanon or something like that. And Ollie goes, thanks for that. And you kind of think that his mum would have picked up when he's slowly closing like the laptop and stuff. Like, you'd be like, damn son, you're evil. But he tricks her and he's like, thanks for that, and then basically walks off. I would have done the whole like teleport and be like, I'm out type thing. So the look on her face is like, oh shit, what have I done? Ion is stressed out that Zato is still missing, and he's emotionally not there. Again, I understand it, but I feel like it could have been played off a bit better. Amelia does step up to the plate. She's there saying, like, look, if you need to listen about stuff, I'm there, I'm here, I'm always going to be there no matter what. So, you know, just talk to me if you need to. You know, he kind of accepts it and he opens up rather than be like, I'm fine. No, he actually opens up and he's like, bam, you know, I'm going to tell you my problems. And Amelia is there to listen. You know, he's also cooking this really weird stew, which is really nice to Amelia as well as Ion. And I like this. I feel like Amelia steps up so much to this plate. Fern and Izzy are talking to Solron and saying, hey, we found these plans. And she's like, oh my God, like, you know, I haven't seen them since your ancestors had tails. This leads into the fact that the base is going to be turned into a spaceship. Then the sensors go off and they find that a massive scuttleworm is running towards the ship. The Rangers then teleport out. They start fighting. You know, Harvey uses his arm a bit more. Skullworm throws out some like poison type thing. Ion gets the idea after a while to kind of defeat it because it's more attracted to the food, that he's going to put the food into a backpack and then just cheese it. Now, I'll give props to Ion's actor for doing this, because literally riding a bike on that much sand, not unless there was a track or something, must have been really hard, because riding in sand, dear God, is a pain in the ass. Yeah, they don't do anything with the Skullworm, just literally go straight to Lord Zed. And Ollie brings the information to him. Ollie brings the information to Lord Zed, and I kind of like it. The one thing that irritates me is the fact that Squillia is dancing and stuff, and Zed's like, fuck, I don't like this. I'm way too old, etc., etc. But, you know, Ollie brings the information, shows the playback from Mick. He gets a brand new morpher for his powers and stuff like that. Then we get back to the base. They say like they fixed the problems, and Billy brings out this brand new device. He uses the key power to kind of make the morphers to kind of resonate, then uses the staff, and thus therefore charges everything up. The morphers now are connected to their comm system, which is great. And, you know, it kind of looks really awesome. The staff then charges up these cosmic orbs, which then will go into the morphers, and everybody is really happy. We have two morphers, one for Zato, one for Ollie, and they're kind of left off to the side. And then we get a morph, which looks really, really cool. Everyone is really happy. And Amelia says like, oh my God, like I'm a darker shade of red. and thus therefore she's become the Red Ranger. Everybody is really happy about this. She is not sure whatsoever. She's like, oh, I don't know, because like, you know, this is Zato's color and I don't want to take it. And they're like, no, I think you'll be fine. Like, you know, you've really stepped up. Thus therefore, here you go. And I kind of thought it was pretty cool. It wasn't just like, we're now giving you this power. We're actually making sure that you earn this power and you've had it since day one. Then obviously Mick contacts the ship and is like, hey, why aren't you returning my calls? I've been calling you. And he tells them where Zato is. And then that's where the episode ends, because they're like, let's get the Zords going. So this episode wasn't too bad. I feel like there's some elements, the stuff with Ion, the stuff with Izzy, like I know they get addressed later on, but for me personally, they just get a little bit kind of but I generally like it. I like the fact that we get a new morph, we get the new Ranger suits, we actually get something to connect, say, hey, this is what's going on Earth. I just feel like the technology is way too advanced, and I would have liked to see maybe some static in the kind of transmissions. But yeah, in general, I really did generally like this episode. I feel it's a nice one. What did you think about this? Let me know down below in the comments. If you like this sort of content and you want to hear and see more, hit like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. And also, if you want to help out the channel, check the Patreon as well as the YouTube channel memberships, and then help support the channel. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for listening and watching. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next video. I want to say a big thank you to all my Patreon supporters, and I wanted to shout out Kimona Cat, Kira Stanada, Micah Baldwin. Your help goes a long way to help support the channel, and if you want to help support the channel, the links to my Patreon and channel memberships are listed below in the description.
あらあら、チャンネルをサポートしてくれてありがとう。チャンネル登録、高評価お願い。以下のリンクから商品を入手することができるよ。